All right, let's get right into it. When you think about the latest, greatest generative AI, your mind probably jumps to models from the last couple of years, right? But what if I told you that one of the core ideas, an idea that just won a Nobel Prize, actually came out of the 1980s? We're talking about Boltzmann machines. Yep, you heard that right. In 2024, the most prestigious prize in science went to a concept that connects the dots between how particles behave in physics and how an AI can actually learn. This isn't just some old history lesson. It's the story of an idea so powerful, it took the world about 40 years to really catch up to just how important it was. So, here's our game plan. We're going to start with that Nobel-winning foundation. Then we'll see how these machines use the concept of energy to model data. After that, we'll uncover the huge breakthrough that made them practical, understand how they learn, and finally, look at their amazing legacy. From recognizing handwritten numbers to powering the movie recommendations you probably use all the time. First up, how in the world did physics and AI get tangled up together? I mean, they sound like totally different fields, but the connection between them sparked a revolution that led us straight to the AI we know today. What they did was brilliant. They took ideas from statistical mechanics, which is just the physics of how huge groups of particles act, and they applied that same logic to a network of artificial neurons. And their ideas built on each other perfectly. You see, Hoffield kicked things off by suggesting a network could remember patterns by finding a stable, low-energy state, kind of like how magnets all line up. Then, Geoffrey Hinton and his colleague took it to the next level with the Boltzmann machine, which could not just store patterns, but actually learn new ones all on its own. And that brings us to the absolute core idea here, modeling data with energy. This is such a cool way to think about it. Instead of just complex math, imagine the network is a real physical system just trying to find its most comfortable, most stable state. So at its heart, a Boltzmann machine is a special kind of neural network that has some randomness, some stochasticity built in. Its whole goal is to shuffle its connections around until it finds the lowest possible energy for whatever data it's looking at. And a low energy state just means the network has found a really good, really stable way to explain the pattern it sees. So here's how it works. You've got two types of units. The visible ones are for the raw data you feed it, like the pixels of an image. And then you have hidden units, which learn the abstract features behind that data, like the curves or lines that make up a number. The network learns by tweaking all the connections until the whole system settles into a stable state. It's a lot like how hot steam cools down and condenses into water. But there was a huge problem. The original design was a total free-for-all. Every single unit was connected to every single other unit. This crazy web of connections made it incredibly powerful in theory, but in the real world, it was a computational nightmare. It was just way too slow to be useful for, well, pretty much anything. And this is where one simple but absolutely brilliant tweak changed everything. It turned a fascinating academic idea into a tool that could actually get things done. The bottleneck was obvious. All those connections made the model way too slow to be useful. The AI world needed a way to get all the power of this energy-based model, but without the impossible training times. And the solution was the restricted Boltzmann machine, or RBM. What it did was dramatically simplify the design into this clean, two-layer system. One layer for the visible units and one for the hidden units. Now, that restriction was the secret sauce. Visible units could only talk to hidden units, and hidden units could only talk back. There were zero connections inside a layer. This seems like a small change, but the impact was massive. It meant that all the hidden units could be figured out at the same time, in parallel. This made training exponentially faster and turned a theoretical curiosity into a practical powerhouse. Okay, so we've got a much more efficient structure, but how does it actually figure out how to adjust all its connections? Well, the method is surprisingly clever, and it's all based on the idea of trying to reconstruct what it sees. The learning trick is called contrastive divergence. It's basically a fast and efficient shortcut. Instead of waiting forever for the network to perfectly settle, it just takes one quick step and compares where it landed with where it started. The whole process is really just 3 simple steps. First, the positive phase. You show it some real data, say a picture of a handwritten 7, and that lights up certain hidden units. Second, the negative phase. Those hidden units then try to redraw the original image from memory. And finally, the update.
the RBM compares its drawing to the original and tweaks its connections to make its next drawing a little bit better. It just keeps trying to perfectly recreate what it sees.
So you can kind of see the flow here. You start with your data. That activates the hidden layer, which then creates a reconstruction. The learning rule is super simple. Just nudge the connection weights to make that reconstruction look more like the real thing. You do this over and over again, and eventually, the RBM learns the essential features of your entire dataset.
And this elegant way of learning unlocked a whole host of powerful applications. It's what took RBMs from being a cool concept on a whiteboard to a cornerstone of modern machine learning. Because RBMs are just so good at finding the deep structure in data, they excel at a few really important jobs. They're amazing for feature learning, basically letting the machine figure out what parts of the data actually matter. They can be used to compress data down, which is like summarizing a huge book into just a few key sentences. They famously powered collaborative filtering, and most importantly, they became the fundamental building blocks for the very first deep neural networks. Here are two perfect examples. On the left, you've got an RBM learning the features of handwritten numbers, the loops, the lines, the curves that make a 2, and not a 3. And on the right, you have it modeling a massive data set of movie ratings. The hidden units start to represent abstract ideas like this person likes sci-fi or that movie is a romantic comedy, which lets it make scarily accurate predictions about what you want to watch next. And really, this was their greatest legacy. Before we really knew how to train these huge deep networks, we used RBMs. You'd train one layer, then freeze it, and use its output to train the next layer, stacking them one by one. This pre-training technique was the hack that finally cracked the code and kicked off the deep learning revolution. Which kind of brings us to a final thought here. The story of the Boltzmann machine is just this perfect reminder that a fundamental idea from one field, in this case physics, can sit on the shelf for decades before it completely changes everything in another. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other brilliant, basic ideas from science are just out there waiting for the right moment and the right technology to change our world all over again?